The Blaze dynasty, a lineage of counts intricately tied to the empire's history, commanded the Fourth Order of Knights and faithfully served the ruling family. However, their existence abruptly ceased in a single night. A knight turned to Elena and informed her that he would confront the knights while she sought refuge in Arden. He emphatically declared that it was her duty to survive, while Derek urged Elena to depart swiftly. Simultaneously, he held off the knights as Elena Blaze wept upon hearing a voice. It belonged to her younger sister, Mirabelle. It was the most dreadful night of Elena's life. 2 decades later, Helena emerged as one of the most formidable knights across the entire continent. To attain this position, she endured immense hardships and challenges. The young woman encountered Emperor Pavelic, whose insatiable greed led to the annihilation of Elena's clan. Her father and brother met a cruel fate, and her beloved younger sister also suffered a wretched destiny. Since then, Elena's sole purpose in life was seeking revenge. Emperor Pavelic praised the girl but soon realized that he would have to eliminate her. Elena threatened that he would be the only one to face the afterlife. The emperor believed Elena incapable of defeating him, even in death, and struck a powerful blow with his sword. Elena collapsed to the ground but vowed that the battle was far from over, as she had yet to avenge her loved ones. Elena awoke in her former room, gazing into the mirror to find herself much younger. She felt as if she were in a state of delirium. It seemed that she had dreamt so intensely about returning to the past that she began to question if it was all just a dream. Suddenly, confusion washed over her as she was greeted by her little sister, Mirabelle, who joyfully informed her that the crown prince would be attending the ball. Elena could hardly believe her eyes. She resolved that even if this were the last thing she saw before her demise, she would cherish it eternally. Mirabelle expressed concern for her older sister's well-being, and Elena, with tears in her eyes, gazed at Mirabelle, scarcely believing that she was truly in the presence of her dear sister. Elena reminisced about her survival, but the pain of not being able to save her sister still lingered. She tightly embraced Mirabelle, yearning for her sister's presence by her side throughout all these years. Elena contemplated the authenticity of her current experience. The dream felt so vivid and warm, unlike any she had ever had before. She questioned the reality of it all and inquired about the present year from Mirabelle, hoping that she had somehow traveled back in time. Mirabelle informed her that it was the year 367 according to the imperial calendar. Elena came to the realization that she had journeyed back 20 years prior to the destruction of her house. Mirabelle suggested that her fatigue might be attributed to work and apologized for diverting her attention. Mirabelle proceeded to share news about the crown prince's presence at the upcoming celebration. Elena was taken aback by this revelation, as the crown prince, Carlis van Dimitri Ruderd, was usually absent due to his unwavering commitment to the battlefield. His appearance coincided with the emergence of Paluc's rebellion, signifying the downfall of the Blaze dynasty. Elena contemplated a future where the prince remained alive and pondered if saving him could alter the course of events. The thought of reuniting with her family and saving them brought solace to Elena. She recollected that around this time, the crown prince met his demise on the outskirts of the capital city. His unexpected death had a profound impact on society. Elena understood the significance of keeping the crown prince alive. Determined to take action, she resolved to find a weapon and devise an excuse for her absence. Additionally, Elena remembered that her brother, Glenn, was soon to be married and decided to assist with the preparations. Derek, who had sacrificed his life to save her, weighed heavily on Elena's heart. She condemned him for his selflessness, yet also yearned for him deeply. Derek became aware of Elena's presence behind him, and she informed him about Glenn's upcoming wedding and her desire to contribute to the arrangements. Derek agreed, cautioning her to be cautious. Elena expressed her gratitude for his concern. Derek stood in astonishment, hoping that Elena had taken necessary precautions while at the office. Elena discovered a newfound sense of maternal instincts and strength that she had never experienced before. Grateful for the opportunity, she was resolute in protecting her family in honor of her mother and saving the crown prince from impending doom. Upon waking up in her chamber, Elena pondered the sudden changes around her. Peering out of the carriage window, she found herself bewildered by the unfolding events. A knight informed her that Mr. Derek had dispatched them, doubting the adequacy of Elena's current guards. It dawned on Elena that her brother had orchestrated this decision. Contemplating her next move, Elena understood the importance of being fully prepared for the impending tragedy. The year 367 of the imperial calendar. news of the crown prince's demise spread. Elena knew she had to intervene to alter the course of fate. Turning to her maid Sophia, Elena entrusted her with a secret. Sophia was taken aback, as it was the first time Elena had confided in her about her emotions. Elena confessed her interest in a man nearby, surprising Sophia even more, as Elena had never broached such topics before. Despite their differing social statuses, Elena revealed her inability to forget the young man who resided nearby. Her thoughts of him grew more persistent. Elena informed Sophia of her temporary absence to meet him and implored her to keep the matter concealed from the knights. Handing Sophia a coin, Elena emphasized the importance of her request. Sophia agreed to maintain the secret but urged Elena to return promptly. Elena vowed to make every effort to expedite her return. Donning her sturdy iron armor, Elena understood the urgency of her mission, aware that time was of the essence. Upon reaching the scene, she was met with a harrowing sight. The lifeless bodies of numerous knights littered the area, evidence of a brutal massacre. She prayed for the man's survival and observed his valiant struggle against the knights single-handedly. His arm bore a striking resemblance to the legendary creature with human and dragon attributes that once ruled the empire. Members of the ruling family possessed extraordinary abilities, and Elena came to the realization that regardless of the crown prince's origins, she was determined to assist him, even if he turned out to be a monstrous individual, simply because she had no other option. Elena utilized one of the bombs from a fallen knight and hurled it towards the others. The voices of the knights clamored for the prince's rescue. Extending her hand to the prince, Elena offered her aid in mounting the saddle. However, the prince insisted on guiding the horse himself. Despite being struck by an arrow in the shoulder, he claimed to be unharmed and urged her to continue without pause. He implored her not to regard him as if he were on the brink of death. In response, Elena advised him to remain patient. Together, they managed to escape from the pursuing knights. Elena requested to examine the prince's wound, to which he silently consented. Upon observation, she noted that the prince's arm appeared to be as it was before. Elena's attention was drawn to the scars on the prince's body, leading her to realize that the rumors surrounding his exploits were not exaggerated. The prince, not recognizing her among his knights, inquired as to why she had saved him. Meeting his gaze directly, Elena responded that her objective was to become as close to him as possible. She expressed her desire to marry the prince. Perplexed, the prince failed to comprehend her intentions and questioned the source of her ideas. Seating herself beside him, Elena earnestly asked for His Highness to marry her. In response, the prince declared his disinterest in men and expressed his confusion regarding her proposition. Left bewildered, Elena received advice from the prince to disregard the prophecy. It was no secret that a prophecy bound the crown prince, stipulating that the girl who became his first wife would lead a life of utter solitude, enduring misfortunes until meeting a tragic demise. Determined to save her loved ones, Elena chose to dismiss the insignificance of the prophecy and was prepared to undertake any action necessary. She removed her helmet, uncovering her true identity. The boy was taken aback by her unwavering determination. Elena disclosed that her clan was dedicated to serving the ruling family and leading the Fourth Order of Knights. The prince identified Elena Bloch and inquired about how she became aware of the danger he was in. Elena was astonished by the boy's recognition of her. The prince commended her proficiency in combat. The young woman disclosed that she had secretly trained in swordsmanship, a fact unknown to her family. She elaborated that she had sought refuge in a discreet location where she wouldn't be recognized, and the prince believed her. He expressed his trust in Elena, prompting her to question if it was too easy for him to trust the words of a stranger. Elena inquired if they had crossed paths before. The prince mentioned that it was irrelevant, although he couldn't recall any shared memories. The prince was taken aback by Elena's proposition, wondering why she had made such an unexpected offer. He emphasized that it had stirred unexpected emotions within him. Elena clarified that the Blaze family was deeply loyal to the ruling family and wished for the prince to ascend the throne without hindrance. She would be honored if the prince could assist her, despite her modest contribution. The boy questioned why she had proposed to become his wife. After encountering him by chance in the woods, she explained that it was related to the county's support for the emperor. The young woman nodded, perplexed by the prince's words. The prince appeared surprised, noting that he hadn't anticipated such a proposal from Elena. She reassured him of her sincerity, expressing her desire to stand by his side. Elena fretted that the prince might reject the idea, but he assured her of his acceptance. The Crown Prince inquired if the heroine was aware of the grim future that awaited his betrothed and if she was certain she wouldn't change her mind. He also cautioned that he might turn out to be a tyrant, advising the heroine to carefully consider her response before giving an answer. "This might be your final opportunity to escape," he declared. Elena, expressing that he didn't care even if he was a monster. The prince speculated that her interest might be motivated by her desire to attain the title of empress, but Elena asserted that if he were to become emperor, she would strive to be more than a mere decorative figure on the throne. As he gently caressed her face, the prince reminded Elena not to forget that it was on this day that she had approached him first. The echoes of the knight's footsteps resonated through the air as they scoured the area in search of the crown prince. Elena cautioned that there could be assassins among them, but the prince assured her that it didn't matter as his subordinates were already present. Urging her to vanish immediately, he warned that everyone would deduce her true identity otherwise. Furthermore, he promised to find her within 10 days, encouraging her not to worry and to continue on her path. The girl nodded in agreement and advised him to take care. Elena alerted the boy about the threat posed by Duke Pulik, who in due time will ascend the throne and become emperor. But for now, the duke held dominion over the land of Lunan. Elena believed that if the prince exercised caution, no harm would befall him. The prince failed to comprehend why he shouldn't trust his uncle and pointed out that there were more pressing threats. A bird arrived bearing a message, informing the queen that the plot to assassinate Crown Prince Karl had been unsuccessful, much to the empress's dismay. She concluded that the mission had once again failed and promptly incinerated the note, dismissing it as a falsehood due to her belief that the prince must be deceased. Elena contemplated that she had much to discuss with the prince upon his arrival in 10 days. She realized that she should have commenced her training earlier in order to prepare for her encounter with Pelik. The girl acknowledged the need to become stronger in order to achieve her objective, recognizing that her current abilities were insufficient. Derek was taken aback by the sight of his sister's condition. Her poor health had caused her to miss Glenn's wedding, which surprised him. He advised her to take a longer rest. Elena responded by acknowledging her weak body, which was the reason for her illness. She realized the importance of one's physical condition, regardless of their actions. He simply asked Elena not to push herself too hard and risk getting injured. The girl expressed her gratitude and assured him that she would take his advice into consideration. Elena noticed that a pile of documents had accumulated during the few days she was occupied, and she knew it was time to attend to them. She wondered how she could catch up in time. The influential Marchioness Holland, who controlled social events in the South, had sent a letter regarding another tea party. Elena reflected on her past attendance at similar events and anticipated the upcoming tea party. Feeling frustrated, Elena realized that she hadn't found a suitable dress among her collection. Suddenly, her younger sister entered the room and inquired about her activities. Elena explained that she had received an invitation for tea and was in the process of selecting a dress. Mirabelle was surprised by the unexpected event. A few days earlier, a letter had arrived, but Elena had read it too late. Mirabelle remembered that it would be challenging to find a suitable dress in such a short amount of time. She clarified the duration it would take to have a dress made if they sent it to a workshop. Mirabelle explained that due to the overwhelming number of orders for His Majesty's debut ball, the tailors were already swamped, making it a significant challenge to fulfill another order. However, she recalled that there was a suitable dress that she had previously ordered. Elena rejected the idea, fearing that it could potentially damage the dress. Nevertheless, Mirabelle made it clear that she didn't want any gossip surrounding her, so she proposed a favor exchange in return for the dress. In addition, Mirabelle asked Elena to take her to the tea party. Mirabelle, who had always been frail, rarely attended social events due to her poor health. However, the protagonist suggested that she could go to another event if she wanted to have some fun. Mirabelle, however, declined the offer. She was more interested in knowing if the Marquis Shelby's daughter would be present at the upcoming tea party. The Marquise's daughter was known for her beauty and was the subject of envy among many. The protagonist, having studied the aristocrats of the Rupert Empire in a previous life, was curious about the Marquis of Shelby, but found no mention of him. Mirabelle mentioned that she planned to go to the tea party with Elena. Mirabelle then asked Elena to convince their father, Count Alfred Blaise, who was the head of the Fourth Order of Knights, to allow her to accompany Elena to the tea party. Mirabelle hoped for Elena's support and mentioned that their father was expected to return that night. The Count was always busy with his duties, leaving him with very little free time. Alina's last memory of her father was seeing his lifeless body, and she never had the chance to say a proper goodbye. She had always hoped to find a letter that he had left behind before his death, but it remained elusive. Elena felt a surge of joy at the thought of her father's return and the possibility of seeing him again. When her father finally arrived, Elena was overjoyed. He immediately expressed concern for Mirabelle's health and asked if there was something wrong with her. Mirabelle reassured him that Elena was taking good care of her and that she was not in any danger. The protagonist offered her father some lunch, understanding that his long journey must have been exhausting. Her father apologized for his delay and explained that he had arrived later than expected. Mirabelle, however, noticed the abundance of food and observed Elena's peculiar behavior in that moment. As Elena gazed at her father, a mix of emotions overwhelmed her. Elena pondered the length of time since she last saw him and how much she longed for his presence. The Earl of Alford inquired of his son Derek whether he had contemplated participating in the upcoming fencing competition. Derek affirmed his intention to join. The father stressed that if Derek had resolved to compete, he must dedicate himself fully to achieve optimal results. Derek assented. Elena noted that the interaction between her father and brother remained as distant as ever. The father elucidated that Derek's success would necessitate spending more time in the capital. He also advised Elena to continue refining her skills and to look after Mirabelle, being her elder sister. Elena concurred with her father, recognizing her responsibilities towards the household, the male members of the family, and her younger sister. Despite harboring some resentment, she viewed it as her life's purpose. Elena visited her father's chamber to disclose her intention of taking Mirabelle to a tea party hosted by the Marchioness Holland. Her father pointed out that Mirabelle's health had improved, but the unpredictability of her condition remained a concern. Elena argued that Mirabelle, too, deserved the opportunity to engage in social gatherings. She stressed that it was Mirabelle's desire to attend the tea party. The Count expressed apprehension that attending such an event might pose a risk to Mirabelle. Elena insisted that Mirabelle should not be deprived of the chance to pursue her wishes. Ultimately, the Count relented to allow Mirabelle to accompany Elena to the tea party, with the condition that Elena assume full responsibility in case of any mishap. The Earl of Alford suggested the idea of Elena marrying Morris, which caught her off guard. Her father clarified that he was contemplating the prospect. Elena remarked that while the proposal was not entirely unexpected, its timing amidst challenging circumstances seemed peculiar. She chose to place her trust in her father, hoping that her marriage would bring benefits to the Blaise family. Elena emphasized the importance of her future husband having a high status, wealth, or being a skilled swordsman like her brother Derek. She sought a backup plan in case her intention to marry the prince did not come to fruition. Elena openly discussed her preferences with her father, highlighting her focus on her future husband's skills and qualities rather than his appearance, age, or character. The father advised Elena to look after Mirabelle at the tea party due to Mirabelle's kind and gentle nature. Elena bid her father good night, finding solace in the fact that her family was safe and sound. She fondly remembered how Derek used to make sweet cocoa for her when she was upset as a child, and now she decided to do the same. Elena instructed Mirabelle to leave her room as she needed permission to enter. Despite the strict rule, Mirabelle hid under the bed and requested to sleep beside her older sister. Elena was taken aback by Mirabelle's actions, considering her younger sister to have grown out of such behavior. Mirabelle expressed her concerns about their father's strictness and how it affected her mood. Elena urged Mirabelle to come out from under the bed and invited her to sleep together. Despite her ongoing nightmares since returning to the past, Elena felt a sense of peace that night. Mirabelle excitedly showed Elena the dress she had made, surprising her older sister. Mirabelle revealed her passion for design and the assistance she received from the maids in sewing the dress. Elena was impressed by her younger sister's talent and encouraged her to pursue her interests, even if it meant facing disapproval from their father. Mirabelle suggested Elena try on the dress, which fit perfectly and was a hit. Elena praised Mirabelle for her skills and expressed her admiration for her younger sister's talent. Upon their arrival at the palace, Lady Mar Holland graciously welcomed all the guests and expressed her gratitude to those who had attended. Whispers circulated among the attendees, speculating about the origin of Elena's stunning dress. Lady Shelby extended her thanks to Lady Marissa for the invitation, who in turn complimented Elena's beauty, noting her exceptional radiance that day. The other guests, unaware of Elena and Mirabelle's identities, remarked that it was their first encounter with the girls. Lady Marissa, assuming they were from the Blaze family, greeted them warmly, reminiscing about their past encounters. She expressed her concern for Mirabelle's well-being, while a maid informed Lady Marissa that all the guests had arrived and the tea party preparations were complete before departing. Lady Marissa hoped that Elena and Mirabelle would have a pleasant time at the tea party. Mirabelle suggested they ask the cook at home to replicate the cookies they were enjoying, to which Elena readily agreed, encouraging her sister to indulge. Observers noted Elena's lack of inhibition in wearing such a dress, prompting 3 girls to approach her with the intention of teaching her a lesson. They greeted Elena, mentioning that it had been a while since they last saw her. In the midst of a conversation with Elena, Lady Shelby accidentally caused a commotion by lifting the tablecloth, resulting in a spill of items on the table. Startled, Mirabelle expressed her shock, while Elena voiced her frustration. Lady Shelby apologized for the mishap, assuring that it was unintentional and hoping that nothing had fallen on Mirabelle. Miss Shelby instructed a maid to refill Elena's teacup, prompting a sense of unease in the protagonist. Recalling a past incident involving spiked tea, Elena hesitated to voice her suspicions aloud to avoid causing a scene. Mirabelle, suddenly expressing a desire to drink the tea, was swiftly intercepted by Elena, who decisively took the cup from her sister's hand. Miss Shelby observed that she had not intended to attract such attention, but now she had no other option. Lady Marissa, attempting to comprehend the situation, inquired about what was occurring. With tears welling up in her eyes, Shelby asserted that Lady Lauren had accidentally spilled the tea and, as a gesture of apology, they invited Elena to join them for tea. Lady Marissa expressed sympathy and offered to wipe away Elena's tears. Lady Shelby stood before Elena, bewildered and unaware of her own wrongdoing. Turning to the main character, Lady Marissa questioned the truthfulness of Shelby's statement. Elena insisted that the tea Lady Shelby had ordered was peculiar. Lady Marissa attempted to make sense of the situation and asked Elena to clarify her statement. Elena wondered how she could discern that the tea had been tampered with without even tasting it. Lady Shelby, attempting to defend herself, accused Elena of spreading false accusations. Suddenly, the saucer of the teapot fell to the floor, and Elena realized she had been deceived when the main character skillfully caught the teapot in midair. Mirabelle marveled at Elena's impeccable timing, as she was right beside her. Elena poured the tea that had been served to her and her sister into a cup. She suggested that Lady Shelby drink it immediately to prove its safety. Lady Shelby insisted that there was nothing wrong with the tea and was willing to demonstrate it. The main character began to drink the tea but abruptly spat it out, shocking everyone present. Later, at home with her younger sister, Mirabelle inquired how Elena had detected something was amiss with the tea. Elena replied that it was her secret. Realizing that this was only the beginning of a complex game, Elena knew she had to evade the small traps set by these ordinary ladies. She also understood that the adversaries she would encounter in the future were much stronger and more perilous. Elena pondered over Prince Carlisle's arrangements to meet her and hoped that their rendezvous would not occur at Blaze Castle, foreseeing potential challenges and risks. While awaiting her appointment with the Crown Prince, Elena contemplated how the meeting would unfold and what events might transpire on that day. She instructed the servants to ready a carriage for her as she had an urgent matter to attend to. Elena was aware that it would be simple for someone to tail her, and her suspicions were confirmed. Realizing she was being followed, she armed herself with a dagger, ready to confront her stalkers. A sudden touch on her shoulder prompted Elena to swiftly brandish the dagger at the face of her pursuer, who turned out to be the Crown Prince. Prince Carlisle noted that the situation was not as he had anticipated, yet he found the element of surprise intriguing. Elena requested him to release her hand, to which Carlisle assured her that he had no intention of touching her. He expressed his desire for Elena to cease staring at him so intently. Elena, fixated on the prince, remarked that she regarded him as if he were a villain. Carlisle realized he had no other option. Upon Elena's departure from Blaze Castle, he had trailed her. Elena inquired whether the prince was aware of the identity of the stalkers. Carlisle proposed to relocate to a secure location for their discussion and guided her to a secluded area. When asked about his injuries, Carlisle confirmed that they had healed. The prince questioned Elena if she had any other inquiries about him aside from those concerning the stalkers. Elena asked how long the prince had been tailing her. He responded that his objective was not merely to follow her but to safeguard her. Elena contemplated the unexpected closeness with the prince, which was far more intimate than she had anticipated. She expressed her resolve to confront her pursuers independently if Carlyle truly intended to assist her. The prince disclosed that Elena need not take any further action, as their encounter was a result of a Blaze family knight being among the pursuers. She expressed gratitude for his cautionary words and acknowledged her intention to avoid any trouble. Elena respectfully bowed to him, addressing him as, Your Majesty. However, the prince instructed her not to bow and reminded her of her newfound status, arguing that she no longer needed to bow to anyone, not even herself. He disclosed that the prince's pursuers were mercenaries affiliated with the Shelby family, supported by individuals connected to a previous incident. Following the tea party, Elena began to contemplate the motives behind seeking revenge. Her mind was filled with thoughts about Lady Shelby's unjust actions and her audacity to seek retribution in the first place. Interrupting her thoughts, the prince inquired if Elena had any further inquiries. Elena mentioned that she had a question she wished to ask. She pondered why she and the prince never made public appearances together and how peculiar it would be if they suddenly announced their engagement, necessitating the fabrication of a convincing love story. Curious if there was anything else she desired to know, the prince received a negative response. Elena clarified her specific question to the prince, who admitted that he felt nothing when looking at her but confessed to an irresistible longing. Elena was overwhelmed by the fact that she couldn't comprehend precisely what the prince was alluding to. Sensing the boy's uncertainty, the protagonist advised him to reflect a little longer. In that moment, she already knew what she wanted to convey to the prince. Elena requested that the prince pretend to love her until he ascended the throne. She desired him to become emperor and hoped that he would have no objections to her future role as empress. The prince assumed that all her aspirations stemmed from a thirst for power. Elena admitted that was indeed the case. The prince declared he doesn't want a fake marriage, they'll need to share a bed. The boy awaited the protagonist's response earnestly, demanding his condition. In her past life, Elena was fixated on training, hindering her ability to love. Now, she contemplated her emotions. The prince questioned Elena's preparedness for such a change, and she acknowledged it was premature to discuss marriage. She declared she couldn't just be the prince's wife. Elena expressed her wish to be the prince's hidden ally. A notion crossed the boy's mind that she aimed to be a daring empress. The prince revealed he had his own motives for becoming emperor and stated he would consider any proposal from the protagonist if her intentions were clear. Elena appreciated the prince's support and comprehension. The girl firmly accepted the terms, pledging to be solely his wife once she became empress. The prince expressed his desire to have children with Elena in the future, even if they inherited his characteristics. Elena felt uneasy upon hearing that the prince's affection for his offspring might be influenced by their looks. Understanding this, she realized that married life with the prince could be intricate and unpredictable. The boy revised his previous requests, urging the protagonist to refer to him simply as Carl. Elena was uncertain how to interpret his plea to address him by his first name. Despite his previous assertion that they should be a couple deeply in love, the protagonist agreed to maintain a level of formality in public while being on a first-name basis in private moments, understanding the intentions of the other person involved. Carl entrusted the responsibility to Elena and requested that she address him by his first name when they were alone. Elena consented to this arrangement, concluding the conversation and addressing him accordingly. The protagonist's maid, Sophie, pondered on the assistance she had provided to Elena during a previous trip but acknowledged her inability to change Elena's attitude towards her. Sophie believed that Elena's decision to meet a man in the middle of the night was quite frivolous. She was of the opinion that Elena was not concerned about the possibility of the maid revealing her secret. Curious about Elena's recent activities, Mary, a colleague of Elena's, inquired about what had been happening with her. Mary noticed that Elena had been receiving very little attention since her trip. Annoyed by the questions, Sophie insisted that Mary refrain from spreading rumors unless she had reliable information. Sophie also reminded Mary that Lady Elena owed her a debt. Mary, not understanding the nature of Elena's debt, listened as Sophie claimed ignorance and emphasized Elena's shameless behavior. It was only after Sophie clarified that the trip was merely an excuse to meet with Glenn and assist with wedding preparations, mentioning that Elena had left in the middle of the night and returned at dawn, that Mary grasped the context of the conversation. Expressing her surprise, Mary learned that Elena had justified these nocturnal excursions as part of her duties. Sophie remarked on Elena's ingratitude, disregarding the help she had received. Sophie asked Mary if she would have kept such a secret if she were in her position. Expressing her discontent, Sophie argued that Elena would face consequences for her lack of gratitude. The prince presented Elena with a contract, allowing her to make any additions she desired. Elena recalled her aspiration to be the prince's secret weapon and contemplated the upcoming rebellion led by Pelik. She intended to participate not only as a companion but also on behalf of another individual. Elena expressed her desire to defend the prince with her sword, but the prince insisted that he did not want to witness her in peril. The question arose regarding the oracle's prediction, which stated that the first woman to become the crown prince's wife would be unhappy. Elena was prepared to sacrifice everything for this marriage. The prince insisted that he did not want Elena to jeopardize her life, and by incorporating this condition into the contract, he provided her with additional advantages. Elena pledged to utilize a favor from the prince in the future. The prince agreed, emphasizing that Elena must stand by his side and protect him, as stated in the 5th clause of the contract. The contract solidifies Elena Blaze's right to conceal her identity at night and serve as a knight, for which she is obligated to fulfill all of Karl's desires, displaying interest in the potential consequences. Elena decides to ascertain what measures the prince will take if she fails to comply with the terms of the contract. Prior to responding, the prince demands a promise from Elena, insisting that he does not want her attitude towards him to become disdainful due to the potential repercussions of breaking the contract without fully comprehending what may lie ahead. Elena promises not to hold contempt for him. Irrespective of what the prince chooses to do, the prince assures that he will grant all of Elena's wishes, regardless of their nature. Elena implores the prince to safeguard her family and commands him to promise that their lives will hold greater value than his own. Furthermore, if the prince is unable to fulfill this promise, he must relinquish all his possessions as a member of the royal family. The prince accepts the terms, giving his word to Elena. She is taken aback by how swiftly he embraces such a weighty commitment. With the contract's approval, Elena proposes to fabricate a love story that will convince everyone of her emotions. She suggests meeting at an upcoming dance to portray love at first sight. Elena expresses her joy as the prince agrees to her proposal. Anticipating the night's search for her family, Elena informs the prince that he must return home. The prince expresses his worry about their encounters and his desire to marry her as soon as possible. Although concerned about her secrecy, the boy insists that they will meet again in the capital. The prince suggests that Elena meet someone before leaving and emphasizes the need for her to conceal her abilities while under his protection. The prince introduces his servant, Cocoon, to Elena, emphasizing that he will be at her service. The prince assures her that Cocoon is discreet and should not be bothered by his presence. He instructs Elena to call him whenever she needs anything. As the carriage stops in front of her house, the prince bids farewell to Elena, kissing her hand and warning her to be careful. Feeling embarrassed, Elena promises to meet him next time. Curious about the prince's behavior, the protagonist asks Cocoon about him. Cocoon replies that he has never witnessed such behavior from His Highness before. Elena realizes that the prince only shows that side of himself in front of her. Cocoon offers his help and tells her that if she ever needs assistance, she should hang a red scarf in the window, and he will come immediately. Elena accepts his offer. Upon returning home, Elena meets her sister, Mirabelle, who has been waiting for her. Mirabelle suggests discussing the purchase of new jewelry before the next dance in the capital. She notices that Elena already has old jewelry and proposes buying new ones. Elena opens a box and finds a peculiar ring. Mirabelle informs Elena about a new jewelry merchant in town who has a great collection. Elena suggests visiting the merchant the next day since it's already late. They agree to discuss it further tomorrow. Elena calls her maid, Mary, to ensure everything is in order and asks for help in taking off her dress. Mary, after hesitating due to other plans, drops a hint about something unusual. Sensing that something is amiss, Elena demands an explanation. The maid reveals that she has heard rumors about Elena going out every night to meet a mysterious boy. Elena asks if Sophia shared this information with Mary. Although Mary denies it, Elena doesn't believe her and instructs her to find Sophia immediately. Elena realizes that the changes in the past have affected Sophia, who is no longer a loyal servant. Determined to uncover the truth, she seeks Cocoon's assistance and hangs a red ribbon at the window. Sophia denies her involvement in spreading the secret, insults Mary, and accuses her of setting her up. Disappointed by Sophia's actions, Elena refuses to show mercy and believes that letting her go is the kindest thing to do. Elena reflects on the importance of keeping certain things secret to prevent similar incidents in the future. Suddenly, Cocoon appears in Elena's room. Surprised by his presence inside the mansion, Elena waits for an explanation. Cocoon reveals that he was hired to work on the Count's estate and emphasizes his expertise in infiltration. Elena is amazed at how quickly he takes action. Cocoon explains that he couldn't visit Elena late at night, so he decided to wait until dawn. Elena acknowledges that he understood her message well. Cocoon informs Elena that the general has ordered him to fulfill all her requests. Elena is delighted to learn that Cocoon is willing to fulfill all of her requests. She requests him to carry out a reconnaissance of the current situation in the royal palace and the power structures of the nobles in the capital, emphasizing the urgency of doing so as soon as possible. Cocoon seeks permission for another night visit, believing that it will enable him to act more swiftly. Elena emphasizes to Cocoon that the timing of his arrival is not important. What matters most is obtaining the necessary information. Cocoon bids farewell, assuring her that he will return once he completes his task. The protagonist recalls the documents she needs to organize as Mirabelle is waiting for her. Together, Mirabelle and Elena make their way to the jewelry store, with Mirabelle inviting Elena to accompany her. Mirabelle becomes captivated by a beautiful necklace and inquires about the stone from the shopkeeper. The craftsman admires Mirabelle's impeccable taste and informs her that the necklace is adorned with exquisite diamonds. Elena suggests that her sister explore other pieces of jewelry, and the seller directs them to various options. The artisan assures them that if they choose their preferred gemstone, he can create any jewelry that Elena and Mirabelle desire. Elena sets her sights on a yellow topaz and asks the shopkeeper if it would be possible to create a butterfly hairpin with it. The shopkeeper agrees, promising to have the finished product ready within a week. Mirabelle asks Elena if she would like a hairpin like that as well. The protagonist assures Mirabelle that it would be perfect for her. Mirabelle insists that Elena choose something for herself, to which Elena agrees and decides to purchase something else for her younger sister. Mirabelle expresses her gratitude, believing that the item will hold great value to her. The shopkeeper notices a unique ring worn by Elena and expresses his intrigue, mentioning that he has never encountered a stone like it before and expressing a desire to examine it further. Elena firmly states that she has no intention of selling it, and the craftsman does not press the matter. Mirabelle selects some jewelry for herself, and they make their way back home. The shopkeeper is left intrigued by the ring, feeling a sense of familiarity with it. She hears strange noises and wonders if there is someone else in the room. When she finds Kasia in her room, the protagonist expresses her surprise and asks what he is doing there. The boy explains that he brought what she asked for and hid when she was not there. Kasia wonders how she knew he was there. Elena realizes Kasia will not stop doing what he is doing by answering his question, so she gives him room for imagination. The boy, disconcerted by her response, informs her that he has brought information about the Kraus family. Elena tells him she has matters to attend to and must leave him, emphasizing she is not far away. She asks him not to accompany her, and they decide Kasia will wait in her room. The boy gives the protagonist a device, stating it is an invention of the general himself. In case of danger, she must turn it on, and he will come in 10 minutes. Elena assures him she will do exactly that in case of danger. When saying goodbye, she tells him they will see each other soon. Once alone in Elena's room, her little sister, Mirabelle, enters, complaining of pain. Kasia wonders what is wrong with the girl, and Mirabelle expresses her interest in knowing how he can help. Mirabelle suggests finding a painkiller. Kasia finds the pill on Elena's nightstand and gives it to Mirabelle. Mirabelle reflects on the boy, noticing his dark blue hair and comparing him to a teddy bear. Elena goes to the jewelry store to pick up her sister's hairpin and praises its beauty. After receiving the receipt, she prepares to leave, but the clerk is interested in why she is leaving. Elena explains that she has finished her business and is heading back. The jeweler introduces himself as Bartory Coven and expresses hope that Elena will return to his shop. This seems strange to her. On the way home, she feels someone following her and realizes she does not have time to retrieve the dagger she has hidden in her ankle. The protagonist has no choice but to do everything in her power. The protagonist swings the hairpin abruptly, but the prince skillfully intercepts her hand, noting that this is the second time this has happened. It is clear that the girl did not expect to meet him. The prince states that he came to see her and wonders why she is in trouble again. The girl hesitantly responds that she was on her way to the hotel. The prince offers to accompany her, which causes her to worry that they might be seen together. The boy emphasizes that he would like to be with the protagonist in such a situation. The girl reminds the prince that they were supposed to fall in love at first sight at the dance and is worried about the possible consequences if they are seen together. The boy adds that he will stay with her now. The girl reflects on the fact that the prince respects her, takes him by the hand, and invites him to follow her to the store where they buy a tunic. The boy wonders what plans the protagonist has in mind, stating that there is no reason why they can't be together until they are recognized by others. The girl admits that it is all because she does not want to break up with the prince. As soon as she emphasizes that everything will be fine as long as he is under the cloak, the boy suggests that the crown prince of the empire hide his identity. He points out that he himself has never done it, not even in the middle of a battlefield. The prince approaches Elena, claiming that since she allows the crown prince to put the cloak on him, she should put the cloak on him herself. The girl covers the boy and asks him if he is satisfied. The prince addresses the girl as, "my lady," which Elena does not like. The boy adds that he is only pretending to be a farmer in love with the lady. The protagonist observes the crown prince attentively, visibly fascinated by his appearance. The boy admits that their farewell is inevitable and strives to memorize every moment. The girl notices a natural ease in communication with the prince and thinks about possible flirtation. Elena raises the question of previous meetings with Carle, expressing hope for a frank answer. Elena asks about the details of their past encounters, and the crown prince implies that it happened a long time ago. Emphasizing that such memories have probably been lost to time, the girl expresses her displeasure at the lack of details, but the boy offers to give them next time. Once evoking his feeling of injustice, the boy ends the conversation by telling her that while she waits to meet the prince, he must keep him in mind. Elena firmly reminds him that it is time to say goodbye, insisting on the obligation to share everything next time. After saying goodbye to Elena, the crown prince leaves. She feels an incredible sense of loss even though they just said goodbye. When she returns home, Elena finds an unpleasant surprise: Mirabelle has fainted. The shocked girl questions Maria about the reasons for her silence. Maria explains that she sent someone to see the girl but apparently did not find her. When entering her little sister's room, Elena finds her asleep, feeling relieved. However, the presence of Kasia Kun's coat is a cause for concern. She calls Maria to talk, and Elena finds out that the maid ignores the origin of the coat. She emphasizes that the events took place in her absence. Worried about the possible negative consequences, Elena forgives Maria but warns her that these types of incidents will not go unpunished. Maria promises to be more attentive and not to leave her alone again. The young woman is reminded by the protagonist of the importance of prudence. Elena enters her room and asks Kasia how Mirabelle is and what his coat is doing with her little sister. The boy explains that he just helped the girl who had fainted, which is why he was carrying his coat. Since Mirabelle did not want to let go of the coat, Kasia had to leave it with her. Elena apologizes for the inconvenience and thanks the man for his help. The man stated that it had been an accident. Kasia asked when they could check the information about the Kraus family. The protagonist promised to do it next time and apologized for the delay. The boy assured her that there was no problem and that he would wait until the next morning. Mirabelle asked her older sister if she had seen a teddy bear in her room. The younger sister responded negatively and asked if the protagonist had seen a boy with dark blue hair. Elena said she had no idea who she was talking about. Mirabelle's flashbacks explained to her that it was not a teddy bear despite the resemblance in hair color. She stated that it was the same as her teddy bear.